Welcome back to the Mad Burger Show. It's been a while. I haven't recorded for almost an entire month, and that has been for personal reasons. I haven't been feeling the best, but now I'm back, and I'm back with new videos. I will definitely slow the frequency down because I felt in the past, let's say, couple of for the last, I don't know, let's say 4, 5, 6 uploads, I felt I've been uploading too frequently, and that had an impact on my creativity. So I'll try to slow it down. I feel I have enough data now on sort of the type of people that like watching my videos, and in my previous video, actually did pretty okay compared to how many subscribers I have currently. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. And yeah, the topic is a review of an event I've been to very recently called Nomad Capitalist Live. And I wanted to review this event because I had some major revelations at the event, and it really confirmed some of the um, suspicions I had when it comes to um, culture in the West, specifically in the United States. So the conference was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and that was actually my first time visiting, and I had a really great time because compared to the place where I live, Thailand, the culture is a little bit more conservative. Obviously, Thailand has never been occupied by colonial powers. Therefore, the influences have been very different. So I was definitely able to sort of see and I was able to feel the post British colonial vibes for sure. And I felt it was very interesting because even though Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur is only a 2 hour flight from Bangkok, it's where I live. It's it's a very different city, yet I did witness a lot of similarities as well. So that's pretty much it about Kuala Lumpur. The malls are very similar. You see shops that are like fairly adjacent to what you would see in Thailand. Now, one thing I would say about the conference itself, well, actually, there's a lot of things I want to say about the conference, but what I would start with is that for probably the longest time, I prior to this conference, I haven't been to a lot of events for for a lot of reasons. Primarily because my background is in digital marketing, media buying, online business operations. For that reason, more often than not, the people I'm working with, they come from the obviously the online space, but also more often than not, the networking is mostly done online, or at least that's the way I've done it. And even though I I'm not against events, but I was never a big fan of some of the events in my industry. For example, there's Ad World, or um, there's a bunch of other ones as well. I can't uh, accurately name them off the top of my head, but there's a lot of ones where you go there and it's basically you talk to a bunch of peers, and it's, for me at least, it feels completely irrelevant because I want to meet people with other perspectives, and I do not want to hear, you know, sales pitches from agency owners or people in my world. I would rather obviously meet with the potential clients, but also at the same time I want to meet other people, right, and learn from other people, and see what other people have to say, and not necessarily, I don't want to be fed into the propaganda, right, of an event or whatsoever. So, and Nomad Capitalist Live, one of the things that really stood out to me was there were, so mind, we're talking about Malaysia. So the event was in Malaysia. and there were a lot of people from the West, right? From Canada, from the US, from Australia, a lot of places, which some of them are pretty far from Kuala Lumpur, so they had to fly in, and they actually made the effort to do that and paid for it. So the event sort of, um, it was a kind of filter for people who really wanted to see and hear other perspectives. And obviously, if you live in the region, like, that helps, right? Because, for me, it was only a 2-hour flight. For someone living in Los Angeles, different story, right? Um, so so it was great that way. But one of the things that really stood out to me as a key factor at the event is that many of us felt that opportunities in the West are declining, and the business opportunities are not like they were before. The networking opportunities are not like the one are not what they were what they were like before, right? And I mean, personally, I've been saying this for some time now, that the U.S. market started to feel more and more oppressive, and it's canceling out any promising small players, either getting by being acquired by the big tech companies or other big firms, and basically um, these promising and innovative startups are, well, they're getting a massive chunk of money, which is really nice, right? But then at the end of the day, what they do is they give up on becoming the competition for the sake of short-term cash, which I understand to a certain degree. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. However, it does feel like the market is rapidly changing and the opportunities are not like they were before. Not only that, in order to have access to a good network, you had to, quote unquote, pay for it. And when I mean pay for it, you got to go to Yale or Harvard, or you got to work on Wall Street and whatever. And then once you've done that, then you have a network to pull from. So let's say if you have a business idea, if you want to get ahead professionally speaking, yeah, sure, you can tap into that, but you have to know the right people. And I feel in my industry specifically, there's been this misconception that, oh, all you have to do is create a funnel, run that funnel, and the clients are going to come. Unfortunately, in for probably a good few years now, it doesn't really work that way anymore. And I'm in my early 30s, so we could say that my network is nothing compared to someone who has been networking for 20 or even 10 years on top of me, right? But the point is, if you're somewhat good at what you do, it doesn't really matter what you do, but let's say you're coming up in your field, there should be an easy and surefire way for you to find relevant people to work with or connect with, and then form those relationships necessary in order for you to get ahead in life, whether we're talking about your professional career or business, right? And I feel for the longest time that hasn't been happening in the West, and it's getting harder and harder, and then the opportunities are getting worse and worse. And anyone, I mean, I felt that people start to look for answers outside of the West, right? And I met people who are based in Dubai, who are based in Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Taiwan, right? And in quite frankly, it was really surprising for me, so for someone who has been in the digital sphere for such a long time. No. So there are people out there who are, you know, libertarians, like-minded. They want freedom. They don't want to be taxed to death. They want to have a good life. They like having. They like being surrounded by people who have similar ideas to them, right? And to a certain degree, that still exists in the U.S., but it's not like the way it was anymore. So, for example, I had the opportunity to attend the first ever Alex Hormozy Acquisition.com conference. That was the first one, and I would say that the networking opportunities and Nomad Capitalist Live compared to that event, and again, I've only been to the first one. Maybe things have improved. It was nothing compared to what I experienced in Vegas. I did meet some interesting people for sure in Vegas, for sure, but nothing really led to anything with them, right? And maybe we could say that there's a bunch of reasons for that, but what I noticed is that people were closed off. It felt like I was at some, I don't know, like Pride and Prejudice style ball event or whatever, and no one wanted to mingle. They were there for the information. And by the way, the information at the acquisition.com event was pretty good, right? So in terms of like learning and stuff, I feel that conference is great. But for networking, it wasn't that good for me at the time, right? As for the Nomad Capitalist Live event, I felt the presentations were not as good. I mean, for me, it was a little bit surface level because I follow a lot of geopolitical information and investment type information already. And some of those presenters were sort of introducing the topics. But I would say that overall, the conference provided the right framework and setup to meet investors, to meet people who are people in the cryptocurrency space, people who work and live outside of the West in countries, again, like Thailand and Malaysia and Vietnam, right? Dubai, Singapore. So I feel if you're looking for a different perspective, if you're looking to see how the innovators think, and I feel this is the conference for that. And I feel is going to get better and better over time as people start to understand that the opportunities in the West are not like they were before, right? The taxation from a business perspective is getting worse and worse, even though there are tax breaks, but that's not the point, right? Because sure, we could argue that the current administration in the United States is pro-business, but not the way you think, right? So I would say that overall, the business environment in the West is not great, right? If you already have money and you already have a network because you were born into it, or you worked on your network, let's say 10 years ago, whatever, and you already have established that network, sure, maybe you would say, no, everything's fine. But then here's the thing. The people who are coming up, right? The people who are trying to make moves, they are going to leave. I talked to, after the event, someone from who lives here in Bangkok. They organized like a get together, right? With a bunch of us, had food at a really nice place, and this person invited another person, and he's a hedge fund manager, okay? And essentially, what happened was we were talking, and I kind of like he's from Kentucky originally, but he lives in Colombia now. And I kind of asked him, like, so what's going on? How do you see things? And what he said to me was, dude, everyone I know is leaving. Like everyone in my circle, they're trying to get out of the country. And I'm like, you serious? Yeah. Like people are leaving. Like the people in my network are leaving because, again, the opportunities are, and he's sort of my age, right? Like maybe in his 30s. And yeah, the opportunities are not the same as they were before. Cost of living is extremely high, right? So again, if you're coming up and you're trying to establish yourself, your cost of living might not even enable you to do that, right? So a lot of young people are leaving. And previously, that was not necessarily the case, right? And actually, at the conference, there were a lot of people, like from the older generation, so maybe like I don't know, 50 up, that sort of thing, right? A lot of investors, bankers, um, people with real estate portfolios, or I also met some people who were just really freaking good at putting money away, and they're looking to retire somewhere outside of the United States, right? I met a really nice guy. He told me he's a bus driver. He's from Seattle, and he's like, "Yep, I'm a pretty good saver. I'm still working, but I'm going to retire soon, and I'm looking for a way out." And he was there at the conference, and he wanted to learn about the different options out there, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm still a massive advocate for everything that the United States stands for from a cultural perspective. However, I do feel that things are shifting, things are changing, and unfortunately, I feel for some of us who are uh, speaking up about this and being transparent about this, and people who really want to make a change, we have to see what's happening. And we have to accept that things are shifting in the United States. There's plenty of creators out there who are uh, commenting on current events, uh, and we all see what's going on. So, for example, Doc Casey. I'm a big, big, big fan of Doc Casey. Unfortunately, he's a regular speaker at this conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it this year, but I'm really hoping that he's going to be able to make it next year. And I was listening to one of his podcast episodes that came out very recently, and Doug and his co-host Matt were talking about Trump and sort of like what they see. And it's scary for me to see that. So Doug and Matt, most of the audience, most people who listen to him and watch him, they're mostly conservatives and more Republican leaning than Democrat leaning, right? And Doug stated it very clearly in that podcast episode that no, I'm no longer a fan of Trump because of everything that he's doing. He felt that at the time Trump was a better candidate than Kamala for a lot of reasons. Because Doug is a libertarian, so he believes in uh, uh, you know smaller government, less taxation, right? More freedom to you. But unfortunately, things are shifting. And I do agree with him, right? I'm trying my best not to take sides from a political standpoint. I do talk about politics a lot, right? But I'm not trying to take sides. I'm trying to see what's going on from an objective standpoint. And sure, sometimes I can be critical, and sometimes I poke the bear, so to speak. However, we do have to kind of zoom out and see where things are heading. So yeah, I do feel that the conference is this conference is amazing for really seeing where things are going and how people who are thinking outside the box, like what they do and how they operate, right? And I feel if you are interested in, having a plan B for the future because you're concerned about where the West is going and how things are kind of playing out right now, then this is really a good conference for that, to learn, to meet new people, to really network and understand where things are. The conference provided a good opportunity for people from all walks of life to meet, right? Because legit, I met people with massive real estate portfolios. I met people who were selling real estate in Dubai, or cryptocurrency investors And I also met the average Joe, just a bus driver, right? Who was looking to learn and who's looking to um, step up in life. And I think that was really awesome to see that it this conference really provided an environment where you can really meet all types of people. It doesn't matter whether you were, you know, really rich or you're just coming up or you're looking to retire. It provided me with an interesting perspective, and I really enjoyed that. So if I'm not exactly sure where the next conference is going to be, um, there's been talks that maybe the conference's location is going to change next year, and they're going to organize it somewhere else in the world. Well, if that happens, I might make a video about it at some point when it becomes relevant. But until now, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think and whether you would join this conference at some point. And please also subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you around.